for that change? How that come about?
For the kicker change? Yeah. Specifically the kicker? Listen, the kicker position, the punter position, all those positions are things you're evaluating all the time. It was a deal we thought we could upgrade. We kept our eye on a couple of close battles that were going on throughout the league, the Browns being one of them. Cody Parkey is a guy that I've always thought was a really good player, a really good kicker consistently. I knew that they had drafted a guy out in Cleveland, so we kind of, kept an eye on that one. It's no slight on Andrew. Andrew's done a lot of great things here. Andrew Frank's done a lot of great things. His 2 years he's kicked for us. Certainly last year had a lot of great moments. But we just felt like, overall it was a better situation for us moving forward.
And how about the change up punter?
Yeah. Matt Haack's a little bit of a backstory. Every year we evaluate the kickers and punters coming out, and myself and Marwan Malouf, we get together in the offseason. We evaluate all the kickers and punters and specialists. And we had Matt Haack rated the #1 punter coming out of college this past year. I was very surprised that he did not get drafted. No punters got drafted. I think there was 3 kickers that got drafted and 1 snapper. No punters. So he was there at the end of the draft. We had a very good relationship with him. I had gone out to Arizona State to work him out. He came out for Miami for a 30 visit. And we had a really good, relationship with him. It was just an opportunity to get a really good player. And then, he kind of did the rest himself. From the first day he punted out in OTAs, right on through training camp, he performed very well. And he kind of raised Matt Darr's game a little bit too, because Matt started to really perform well towards the middle of training camp and towards the end of preseason games. And it kind of felt like we were in a no-lose there. We had 2 NFL punters. But Haack really, punted the ball well. We just felt like overall, again, moving forward, it was the best situation for all of us, because, we felt like he was in a really good, he's got a lot of great tools. He's obviously had really good hang time on the ball. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He's a lefty punter. All those things kind of factored into the decision. And just, again, he won the job. I've heard some different things about other things, why we picked him to be our punter, but the bottom line is he won the job. He won the job fair and square. He was more productive in the preseason.
How much does a left-footed punter make a difference in that return?
It does make a difference. You're starting to see more and more lefties make teams. There's no doubt about when we play a left-footed punter, it's a whole new dynamic for the returners. I could tell you that Matt Haack's making our returners better just by having to go out there every day and having to catch that lefty ball. But it's definitely different. It's definitely different. You talk to the returners. I think if you asked Jarvis, if you asked Jakeem, if you asked anybody that's ever been back there returning punts, they'll tell you that the lefty punter is certainly a different dynamic for them. And Matt Haack in particular gets really good hang time on the ball, good rotation. So, he specifically is really good at that.
Can you name maybe 3 youngsters, rookies or otherwise, drafted or undrafted, young guys, who you feel will be able to contribute effectively on the special teams unit?
Sure. Some of the guys I was impressed with in the preseason, and obviously the preseason and regular season are 2 different animals, as we know, but a guy like Mo Smith definitely jumped out. He kind of flashed in every one of our games, every one of the preseason games. He played in all of them on special teams and defense, and he definitely jumped out at us as a guy that just, didn't seem too big for him, Another guy that I thought, he didn't play in the last preseason game, but the first 3 preseason games, Sonoris Perry really played well on special teams in many different facets, I think many people probably pointed that he fumbled a kick return and all that, but he really played well in all the other facets, and I was really, really impressed with him. And then a couple guys I thought really got better as we went along were Chase Allen and Torrey McTire. I thought those guys really progressed nicely, really like a nice rookie progression as camp moved forward, and they were kind of peaking at the end of preseason. So those guys, all of those guys, were impressive throughout for different reasons.
What's the learning curve in general if a few of these guys do it at the NFL level for the first time on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a big learning curve because a lot of these guys haven't done it at all, and it'll be the first time. If some of these guys are active on Sunday, it'll be the first time they're ever doing it in live action. And listen, the preseason, there's a lot of great things about the preseason, but it really, for me as a special teams coach, it's a lot different than offense and defense because we're really evaluating personnel. And I'm really not a big scheme guy in the preseason, and I really could care less, to be honest with you, about the statistic part of it. To me, it's irrelevant. And all that matters is getting ready for the regular season, getting her. So really, the evaluation tool of the preseason is great for us because a lot of those guys haven't done it before. So to get them in live action, but it's different. And some of those guys have played a little bit, but a lot of them have not. And so that's what we're trying to really, drum home to in their minds is how it's this regular season is going to be amped up a notch. It's going to be a little bit different for them. But all those guys have, in one way or another, have really shown out.
Last one from me. My colleague Habib, Habib. He's not here yet, but he asked me to ask you how your dogs are doing and where you put them.
I don't know. My dogs have become a topic of conversation, along with many other people, I guess, that got uprooted from South Florida. So, yes, I have 5 children and 2 dogs, and the 2 dogs that I own were probably not what you would expect me to have, But I am a nice, peaceful guy, and so therefore, I think Beasley probably thinks I have, Rottweilers, and Omar probably thinks I have pit bulls, but I have 2 Westies. And so those Westies are alive and well and doing great in South Florida. We were able to find a shelter for them or a place for them to stay while we traveled out to the West Coast. So I don't know how my dogs became the topic of conversation, but no, I think a lot of people obviously, when you get in this situation with the hurricane and you have to leave home for a while, and it's probably a lot of things. I grew up in the Northeast, so I didn't deal with a whole lot of hurricanes, a couple here or there growing up, but so there's a lot of things you don't think about, but certainly taking care of my dogs was much more important than my children. I'm not going to lie to you. It was much more important than my kids. My kids are ready to bring them with them. So fortunately, it sounds like I lost power for like 4 or 5 days. I just got it back yesterday. But I think maybe a small gutter down, a bunch of trees, but no major damage. So yes. I have my one daughter's in college, but the rest of the crew came. Yep.
Riz, in terms of the punt returners, is
yeah.
the plan going in to focus on Grant and Drake and Luke Jarvis, like as an if needed basis?
No, Jarvis is always an option. He'll always be an option as long as he's here. Jarvis is a guy we know can do it in games, and he's always going to be in that mix of punt returners. Obviously Jakeem got the lion's share in the preseason, and Drake is a guy that we're continuing to work with. Those are really the 3 guys right now that the main focus is on those guys. But again, moving forward, game plan wise, Jarvis is always part of the equation, no doubt.
How much do you think Jakeem's good performance in preseason is going to help his confidence?
I think that's huge with that position. I think maybe more than most positions that you got to be confident back there. If you're unsure of yourself back there, it's not good. I liken it to a guy stepping into the batter's box in baseball. If you're not confident walking into the batter's box, you're probably not going to do very well. It's kind of that same thing. You're kind of on your own back there. Being a punt returner is a lot like being a baseball batter in a batter's box. You're kind of it's all you. And so when you step back there, and that's what we worked on a bunch of him. And to Jakeem's credit, he worked on his self-confidence a bunch, even before we got back to OTAs. You guys know the backstory on that, about how much he worked on it in the offseason. So I do think it's a big difference. I see a different person taking the field this year as I did last year at this time. I see a much more confident guy, a guy that's really worked at learning the game and learning that position. There's a lot of nuances to that position, and so I think he's done a hell of a job with that, and to his credit. And so I see a totally different guy taking it. And we always say you want to see that big jump from year 1 to 2, and I've seen that out of him, and hopefully we'll see the fruits of that labor, pay off for us during the regular season here.
All right, thanks, guys. Coach Burke's up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think, first of all, you guys haven't let anyone kind of forget about it. So, the awareness level is pretty high. We've been emphasizing it. I think our techniques up front have gotten better, like on another year in the system, and those guys working those things. So, I just think it's another year of everyone progressing and understanding what we're actually looking for, in their spots again, especially in the front 7. So I feel pretty good.
With this defense, do you see yourself being a blitzing? I know it don't want to take your hand, but do you see yourself being an aggressive style defense?
I think I think the way we play our front is aggressive anyways. As a natural, even when we're not pressuring. The thing I like about where we're at right now is I think we're actually a pretty multiple scheme, where week to week we can pressure if we need to, and then we have the build-ins that we can work off some stuff, and if it's a week that we don't want to do that, we have that capability too. I feel like that's where we've kind of moved forward, where we're getting more multiple in what we do, and it's going to be a weekly thing of, hey, this week it's more of a pressure type situation, and next week maybe it's not, and we got to play more coverage, and and just play with our front. So I feel pretty good about our pressure package. We've got some new pieces. Having 20 back and Timmons in terms of guys that can blitz and be effective pressure guys. So we have some new weapons, some new tools that we can use there. So I feel good, kind of both. This week, this league is so different week to week. It's hard to say we're going to always do one thing or the other. We have to adapt a little bit to what we're seeing.
Matt, on a personal level, this is going to be
Yeah, took long enough, right?
What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I really am. Probably for me, the hardest thing like last week was just that. We were building and building and building, and obviously the anticipation of playing. Regardless of the whole 16 weeks in a row and all that stuff, for me it was the not getting to have that game. Man, I was pretty amped up, and the process of the week is such that it kind of builds like that throughout. And we were getting the way we had prepared last week. We were getting right to that sort of the end of our prep week. And so I'm just excited, man. I'm ready to get out there and just go have some fun.
Are you a booth guy, sideline guy?
I'll be down the sideline. I've been both places in my career. It's sort of the generic thing is from up top. You can see better, obviously, in terms of some of the pictures of what you're getting. Down the field, I thought it was important for me to have a connection with the players. Even just making a correction. Sometimes, you're upstairs and you're on a phone and trying to say, hey, make sure you do this or this. And they're going, yeah, coach. And they hang up and you're going, I don't know if you got that or not. Whereas I can grab a guy and look him in the eye and say, hey, man, like this is what we're doing. And I can get a better feel for that and kind of get a pulse of the sideline, the team. So I wanted to be kind of down with that. Adam felt the same way. So, I've done both. I'm about split in my career in terms of where I've been up top or down below. So, we have good guys upstairs that'll help, and we'll be all right.
Do you worry about doing maybe too much, getting with those guys on a one-on-one basis as opposed to the bigger picture?
No. Because it's the corrections are player to player. It may be a series comes out, we only have to make one correction, with something, and again, no one's doing this on their own. I trust our assistants, and those guys are good. And what we do is when the series ends, we come off the field, we all go through the pictures together and talk it out. So I'll tell, hey, man, what play 1, we got to change this. We're good. Play 5, and then let those guys go coach, and then I'll go around and make sure that the adjustments I want to make are what we're getting. So it's been a pretty smooth process through the preseason so far, so I feel comfortable with that.
What makes Mike Cole ready to be an NFL starter right now?
He started last year for us. He's already been an NFL starter.
There's a difference, one game, and
there is. Mike Cole is the guy that everybody always wants to count out. Everyone looks at him and thinks he's too small or too this or too that. And every time we've had to play him, whether it's in game situations, practice, he's always ready. He knows what he's doing. He's a great instinctive football player. He's always around the ball. I have the utmost confidence in Mike Hall playing football for us.
And does he have the work to basically anchor the inside of that defense, especially against aggressive guards?
Yeah, if you have guards that are climbing up on Mike Hall too fast, then that means they're leaving Sue and Jordan and DG one-on-one. So, our front is tied in together like that. Everybody said the same thing about Kiko last year, playing inside there. It's a symbiotic relationship with our front, with our D-line, our linebackers, and if they're worried about sending guards up to Mike Hall, then they have to deal with our tackles, who we think are pretty talented. So I have no concerns about Mike holding up there. He's honestly probably one of our better technique players at hat and hands and stuff, because probably has to be, because he's given up a little bit in length, so he has to be technically sound. So he's probably one of our best people at punching off linemen, to be honest with you. So I honestly have no concerns about playing Mike.
Is Ray Maluga out or likely out this week?
He's still working through his things. That's me and Adam will sit down, as we progress. I don't know. He obviously wasn't out in the field yesterday, so he's working through his injuries, and when we determine he's ready to go, he'll go. I'll have a plan for either way.
There's a couple of position battles, defensive tackle, and
Yeah.
any kind of clarity on those yet?
For me or for you?
Yes.
No, again, we're working through again, we're going to play the best guys for that week, for those matchups. And, tackle particularly, I mean, they're all going to play. I mean, we wave guys in there. We want to keep guys fresh. We feel good about the progress that Jordan and Gacho have made, So, I mean, those guys are all going to play up front. And, like I said, we'll just work our matchups and situations that we feel good about where we're playing those guys. But, I mean, I have some clarity. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, really it hasn't in terms of once we got here. I mean, it's been a normal week. I mean, literally I got out here late Sunday night, and really we just got into it. It kind of played out where then Monday was a Monday for us. We treated it like such, and Tuesday, same thing. So preparation actually has been pretty normalized once we all got out here. I just want a little side note anecdote. My first NFL game I ever coached in was in 2004 when the game got moved to a Saturday down in Miami. So we got the call, I think it was either Thursday night or Friday morning or something that we were coming down. So it was the first game I ever coached, regular season game I ever coached in 2004. I was with the Titans and we got moved to a Saturday game. So we scrambled, we got on a plane Friday night, I think, and shot down with a day short and came down and won and then got on the plane back. So it was kind of a little close circle for me in my first coordinator games. Moved for Hurricane 2. Yeah, like I said, I mean, honestly, for me last week, it was personally it was a little more the emotional, like building that readiness to get going for Sunday. And opening week's kind of a special day, it is, and everyone around the league's playing, and it's kind of carries that weight. So that for me was really the hard part. Preparation wise, I mean, it's been a really smooth process being out here. I mean, you guys see everything that's been set up. I mean, our ops guys and everybody did a great job getting this place like home away from home. So I feel good about our prep week and we're ready to go.
Matt, how would you assess Charles Harris's?
That's good. He's ready. Yeah, he's been good. Honestly, it was cool to see his transition. I think he was like building, and I felt like he hit a little bit of lull, like right in the middle of the preseason, and this rest has helped him a little bit. Even that last week, like after Philly going into Minnesota to week 4 preseason, I just saw his speed back and where the way he was running and moving and chasing, and it showed out here again yesterday. So I feel really good. Like I feel like he's back to like moving the way we want to see him moving for sure. I'm excited to see him play.
Speaking of what you were talking about, you got built up last week. It's your first time as a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to build that up again?
No, man, I have no problem getting a hand for games. Trust me, no problem. I'll be screaming and spitting and doing whatever I do out there.
Thanks, guys.
Do I have a routine? No. I mean, we're busy going through all our prep right now, obviously as it is. So, probably be a little different for me on Saturday night in the hotel, like just going through sort of my thought process last minute. But other than that, no, I'm good. I'm excited.
Thanks, guys. We got to stay on step.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Want me to-
Yep. And then we'll start again.
Now begins the show.
Don't say that. Going to go smooth, and that's been kind of our selling point. That that I think it'll end up in the long run being a positive. That it'll give us a toughness that we couldn't get if everything just went smoothly, and I think it'll give us a little togetherness that that we've all kind of scrambled and pulled together and got out here and reassembled, and now we'll spend a good 4 or 5 days out here together. So I think there'll be some positives in this thing that who can measure them, but I really do think there'll be a silver lining to this thing for us as a unit and as a team.
What is the biggest challenge of playing 16 straight games?
Yeah, the biggest. You know what? Again, I'll take a positive side. I've always thought like the off week, the players love it, and I do enjoy it. It's good to get a couple of days just to regroup. But there's something that throws you out of rhythm with an off week. So the positive to playing 16 straight games is we get in such a routine. Everyone gets in the same routine. You do the same thing every Monday at this certain time, everything Wednesday at this time we do this, so there is something that just kind of stays in rhythm with playing 16 games. I think the players now the mental part of it for the players is just, that they won't have that break and where they can just get out of town and get away from it and let their bodies recover. But I think the positive, I really do believe it's a legit positive that there's a rhythm to the thing that sometimes the off week kind of messes you up. It's kind of like the bye week, right? The bye week has some positives in the playoffs, but there's something to just keep playing. You always see that team with the bye week struggle to get their rhythm and get back in sync. And, it's funny, but they're just, everything just is kind of on a schedule. And when you mess with that schedule, it messes with them a little bit.
What's something that's surprised you about Jay Cutler?
I hadn't been around Jay much. I think probably the thing that surprised me is that how natural he is with the no huddle stuff, and that that he's an even keel guy, and he picked up things so quickly. I thought it would take a little bit of while just to get back in rhythm, but again, it just shows they've done it for so long, and he's a veteran guy, but just how smoothly he came in and just picked up and went with the thing. I don't think I would have anticipated it being quite as smooth and efficiently transitioned as it was, and so that's probably the surprise.
You guys tried to run that no huddle early last season and then sort of had to pull it back. How much can adding that to your arsenal assist the offense?
I think it can. I think that's what Coach Gase's intention from the beginning has been, to be up tempo. It'd be important this week that we can play some up tempo and keep those guys breathing hard, those outside rushers, and so I think that's always been his intention, and we'll have to see how far we can get with it, and but we have wanted to play with tempo. Last year we kind of pulled it back and just felt like at a point with some of the way some things were going that we were better off huddling at times. But his intention is to be an up tempo, right on the line of scrimmage guy. Yeah, I think handling those two outside guys, it'll be all hands on deck for those two outside guys. We got to know where they are, what they're doing. I think the other thing is we've got to stay on schedule. We can't put ourselves in 2nd and 11 and 3rd and 12s and those kind of things where they can tee off. We got to make them play the run and stay on schedule where we're still a threat to run the ball on 3rd and short or 3rd and medium there. And I think all those things, the tempo also, just to not let them get rested and tee off theirs. But those two guys they can wreck a game, and they're really, really good players. They have a great motor, and we're going to have to match their energy and intensity, and it's going to take everybody. It'll take the quarterback getting rid of the ball. It's going to take the line handling, and our tackles are going to have to play well, and the backs are going to have to know where those guys are. So receivers can't mess around getting open. We got to get open and make something happen fast because you don't have all day back there. Yeah, it's fun, it's kind of fun to look back a year ago, and we kind of walked back through some of those things. But, last year, week 1, Jay wasn't even on the trip, and no one knew that he was on his way to having a heck of an all-pro caliber year. And last year at this time, there were a lot of things that just have changed. Like Devontae wasn't healthy, right? No one knew what Kenny was, There's a lot of guys who are better players, in this year. There's a lot of things that have changed. We know what we're doing more. Everyone's a little bit more comfortable. So I think we're a better football team, a better unit by far than we were last year at this time. Pouncey being in there, and that thing kind of being a little more stable than it was. But a lot of things have changed. It's hard to believe it's just been a year. It feels like longer than that, but it has.
You mentioned
I have seen a maturity in Jay. I think, I told you last year that there's no way to prepare yourself for 16 games at the running back position. It's too violent. It's too physical. Now for him to know how to train, to know what that feels like, to know what you feel like on Monday morning when you wake up, all those things. I've seen him just kind of say, hey, I saw him have some success last year, really enjoy it, and then just hit the accelerator in this off season and just work even harder, take it more serious, and really I think he just kind of caught a vision of what he could be, and I think he had some fun with the success. So I think that's a great thing for all of us.
Like you mentioned, Pouncey a little earlier
Let me regress real quick. And the other thing I think is just that he's taking some ownership of the team. Last year, I think everyone was feeling their way, right? And the other thing with Jay, I think, is just, hey, you know, that it kind of threw him into a leadership position, right? He's one of our good players, and that put him into a leadership position also that I think he's embraced, you know, that he has to take some responsibility for the room, the leadership, the unit, all those things, and he has done that. So I think your question was maturity, and I think that, you know, to not talk about his leadership and how last year it was really just him trying to get on the field and trying to find himself and what he was. He's become one of the leaders on the team. I'm sorry.
My question was, you mentioned bouncing him in the lineup, what's your confidence level?
Yeah. High. You know, he makes a big difference. He's one of the two best at his position in this league, and just the maturity, and just especially with Jay, I think, you know, for us to have some stability there for Jay, you know, like last year, if it was at this time and all of a sudden you had a new quarterback also, and we were rolling some different people through the center position and all those interior positions, so I think he'll give him a stability there. He'll be able to kind of give him some sideboards, if you will, that you know, that'll help him. That he'll, you know, he knows what we want to do. He's got a year in this thing, 2 years in this thing, year and a half in this thing, and you know, so he'll be great for Jay that way, I think.
You mentioned one of the top two centers. The other one is
probably his brother. Yeah. I think that would be certainly my lay opinion of it, and so, but. You know, anytime you get that caliber guy, and it's not just that he's a good player, but how he does things. You know, we're still a young unit. You know, we still have a lot of young guys. We're still stressing what a pro looks like. You know, and he is that. He knows how to walk through. He knows how to take notes. He knows how to study. He knows how to be ready to go. He has his fun when it's fun time, but when it's football, the guy's all business, and that we need that. We need that on our unit, and more guys are starting to fall in that role. Jay being one of them, and but he's critical for that, you know.
Is the goal to see this offensive line mature together?
Yeah, the goal would be to see them all stay together and play together, and if they do that, they'll mature together. Yeah, but you know, that's you know, that would be the dessert, right? We kind of always make our plans for that. You know, history would say that you're going to have some curveballs again, if you will, and some change-ups, and have to adjust. And so I think, you know, we talked about it a lot last year, that was one of our strengths, that those things happened. You know, those things happened, and we just kind of kept going. And that's the mentality that Coach Gase has brought, and we lived it out. We always tease it, you know. Of course, we're evacuating out there. You know, I mean, that's the way we do things. You know, I think that's how we function best. Is you know, off the seat of our pants and just adjusting and going. And but the truth of the matter is that, you know, that's what successful teams have to be able to do, because that's going to happen, whether it's, you know, in the component of just a game and all of a sudden a quarter goes bad, or a half goes bad, or 3 quarters go bad, or whether it's a 4-game stretch, or whether it's a December where, you know, things aren't good. You know, that a team has to have that resiliency and a little mental toughness that they can adjust and keep going.
Assuming Steen is still first team this week.
Yes.
What were the contributing factors to go with him?
You know what? He really had a nice two things. One, he really had a nice camp, and two is we had to bounce a couple of other guys at all the different positions, and we really didn't probably give them a fair, equal chance at some of the positions. A lot of the guys had to play some different positions, and one week they're right tackle, one week they're right guard, one week they're left guard, you know, and it's hard to compete that way. So we talked a lot about it, but we really didn't have any options, and you know, so we had a couple guys who probably would have competed, but the bottom line is he really had a nice camp. He really played good football. He's got a year under his belt playing a lot of snaps, but some of it has just been because of the movement of people around through the camp. We haven't been able to give them a fair shot. You love it just doesn't happen. You'd love to be able to say, hey, we're going to let you two guys compete for the left guard, but then all of a sudden, you know, someone else goes down. Well, you're going to have to go fill in over here, you know, and then the next thing you know, it isn't kind of a pure competition as we would know it.
Who do you consider the third tackle right now?
Yeah, we would have a couple guys, right? We got Sam, who did a great job last year, and then Eric, yeah, Eric, probably not, yeah, probably more 77, yeah, Jesse, right? Jesse would, you know, and Jesse's the guy who probably got the short end because we asked him to play a bunch of different positions and didn't give him a chance to just compete for one. I think probably if you were Jesse, I'd be saying, hey, just let me sit at one position and see if I can earn that job. And we didn't have the luxury of doing that. But he's been a great surprise in the camp. He's really played well. He gives us some versatility. So him and Sam give us a third and a fourth tackle. And Eric, I think, is more of a developmental guy that, he's still a rookie and he's got a long ways to go. But had a nice enough camp to make this football team, and he'll get better and better and better. And we know how this thing goes, right? You could be week 3 and he's starting at one of those positions, so he's got to get himself ready to go.
Are your contingencies at center and left guard just straightforward sub for sub, or do you have guys moving someone to another position and then?
Yeah.
What would be your plan at backup center right now?
Yeah, the backup center thing would be, we've got a couple guys. The thing that's always hard is to have that third center dressed, right? It's a little bit scary to go into the game with only 2 guys dressed. So you're always, who do we cross-train? Do we take Bush? Do we snap? Do we take Jesse, who may as well, he's played every other position, and just, but so that third guy, and the key, the tricky thing isn't having enough centers. The tricky thing is getting them up and dressed, and active, because it's a really scary thing. We've done it a couple of times where you have 2 dressed, and all of a sudden the first guy goes in, and you got a tight end, and in the locker room trying to snap at halftime just in case to get you out of a game. So the tricky part comes with having the third guy dressed. Who's your third guy in the game who can go in and get you out of a game? Go ahead. Steen would be our second guy. So Steen would probably slide in. That's right, and Mr. Versatility would slide in there at left guard, and then the third guy is the adventure. The third guy gets a little more adventurous, and a lot will depend on who Coach Gase, who management decides is going to be active in this game, and may not be a problem. Maybe scrambling to make sure we have a third guy, but that's always the tricky part. But I think Steen right now would be our second center if we had a problem. What's that? I think it was Dave Moore back at Tampa Bay. I think Dave Moore was kind of our Mr. Versatility. He was our long snapper, but we have had some where you're just scrambling, and funny stuff happens in this league, especially because you don't have that many guys suited up, and all of a sudden a couple guys on special teams, opening kickoff, someone kickoff return, and you lose your backup center gets dinged because he's on the wedge, and now all of a sudden you're going, oh boy, now we got 59 and a half minutes left, and we got one center, so it's always an adventure.
Thank you.
Good, thanks.
The situation that we were in, we were just really trying to get them caught up to speed and get them used to being in the pocket. So the more we practice, the better. It's really just an extended training camp for us.
How much does the no huddle offense? I know you guys tried to do it last year, but how much does Jay's experience with it benefit the offense?
It helps us. If somebody had come in that was just trying to learn the offense, or that would have probably made it very difficult for us to do anything up tempo, or if we wanted to be on the ball all the time. It's a lot goes into it. There's a lot of little nuances that you kind of have to be aware of and go through to really know the best way to kind of handle the line of scrimmage.
And does the no huddle, is it based mainly on your relationship with the quarterback or comfort level with the quarterback, or just execution?
It's everybody. It's you have to evaluate it as a group more than anything, and when you get in a situation when the quarterback feels comfortable, but then you have 10 other guys that it's hard with, you have to go away from it. If you have 50%, it's just not enough. And last year we just kind of got in a situation where we just needed to kind of settle everything down and really keep learning what we were doing and get better at that. And we just had so many young players. It was probably just a little much for us at that time. And as the season wore on, we got better at when we had to do it. We got better at it.
Was that the Pittsburgh week where you start to scale it back?
Yeah, we scaled it back, and we started huddling, and we started doing some different things with personnel groups. I think we were just trying to figure out who we were, what our identity was, and it worked out for us, and we just wanted to keep growing as the season went on. We wanted to evolve, and we did, and we did different things every week. Sometimes we were on the ball, sometimes we huddled, sometimes it was a little bit of both. So, having that kind of flexibility is critical for our offense. We just like to be multiple.
Adam, how far would you say Jay Ajayi has come since this time last year, not as a player necessarily, but as a pro?
I think anytime you do anything, you learn so much through experience. In this league, it just feels like 1 week seems like a month or two. I mean, you learn a lot in a short period of time, and you kind of have to because the careers are so short. You don't have a lot of time to say, hey, I'll get it in 3-4 years. And when you play and you gain experience from that, and you learn, that's really the key to everything.
When did Jay hurt his knee? I didn't know, but
No, I mean, I don't really see him as being hurt. He's just a little sore. I mean, I think that's been like that for a while. Yeah, that was, that kind of came up last week when we were ending the week of practice, and it's just we had a little bit of a setback, and we're just going to keep just working on them, strengthening them, just get them ready. I mean, we're looking at this thing as duration. We got a long ways to go, and we got a couple new guys at that position right now, so we're trying to get everybody caught up to speed as fast as possible.
Does that put him out for this week?
I mean, we'll see how this week goes, but I can't give you a definite answer right now.
With Jay, he seems to have, and I know this.
Which Jay are we talking about? Because it's
correct. Jay Cutler.
Okay.
He seems to have a nothing to prove attitude. Is that beneficial to you guys? Is that healthy? Is that accurate? Is that?
I don't know if that's necessarily accurate. I know how competitive he is. I know he wants to play well. I know he's invested a lot of time since he's arrived here to make sure that he's part of the solution. And I know he's developing a good relationship with these guys at a very quick pace, and I think he wants to make sure that he comes through and plays well and does what he needs to do. And he wants to play well because I think his relationship with those guys means something to him, and he wants to make sure that he does his part. I don't know if it's hard to talk about legacy. I think he's looking to play well 1 week at a time right now.
You mentioned leadership yesterday. Can you call out one or two guys who you feel have emerged in the leadership role?
The guys that come to mind for me, Cam, Sue. I think Cutler's done a good job. Kenny Stills, Pouncey, Mike Thomas. And I just look at these, I look at a guy like Lawrence Timmons. When you watch him practice and you watch how he plays in preseason games, you would think this is his first or second year in the league. And I think he doesn't say a whole bunch, but the way he operates, the way he goes about his business, I think guys respect that and understand why he's been in the league so long and why he's been so successful. And I feel like that's a great thing about the NFL. Each year's so different. And, last year we were looking for guys to step up and be leaders, and this year, Rashad Jones is a very vocal leader for us. And just to see how these guys have taken over this program and it's their locker room, it's been fun to watch.
Have you named captains?
Yes, we have. We'll let you know on Sunday.
Coach, no doubt on Sunday, this devastated Dolphin fan base is going to be looking to the team for an escape, a chance to just take their mind off the insurance papers or the homelessness or try to find a hot meal. You could sit down with one of those families and impart what the Dolphins have gone through, what kind of message you'd like to send them. What would it be?
Well, for us, it's going to be about, representing our area, the best we can. I think it's going to, the effort that our team puts forth on Sundays, I that's why we talk about one game at a time. You know, we're trying to sell out every Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whenever they have us play. And I think our guys are looking to make sure that, you know, we do it right, especially this week, you know, and moving forward. You know, our guys are going to, you know, whatever they have, they're going to give it.
You going to mention adversity or anything in a pregame speech?
No, our guys just, it's kind of our deal. Things come up and we adjust and then fight through it and just battle.
What's your schedule like? Because obviously you have the camp deal, but it's probably not camp hours, right? We're
just on our normal. The thing for us, this is probably rare for us to be on the road and not have to travel to some place to go practice. So that helps us. It makes our day a normal day for us.
You guys have a movie night planned or something?
No.
Adam, who's a guy that you've really worked with a lot, has seen a lot of good things from offensively in the offseason, and you can't wait to see how that translates to real games?
I think really, I just want to see how our wide receiver core and tight ends and backs, the skill guys, just kind of together. You know, seeing kind of how the flow of the game goes, the personnel groupings, just really see what our strength is. You know, you have an idea, but it's so fluid from week to week, and even during a season, just kind of how it can change. You know, I'm excited to kind of just see that group. You know, see what we can do, see how we come together. You know, from week to week, and you know, it's just it's a long season, and it's nonstop evolving, and who gets better and who kind of flattens out. It's, you know, you just want to kind of see how it plays out.
That's good. Can we try to guess the captains and just like blink twice if you get it?
Matt will give them to you.
I'll give them to you.
All right, guys.